So UK, a place to be. Delighted to be joined by a fellow Gooner once again in the building. It's Mr. Kenny Ken, Big Papa Pump. How you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good, mate. You know, like I said, I like the Scott Steiner comparison. I should kiss my. If you want me to kiss my biceps, I'll do that as well. Because I think Scott has got more definition than me. But you know what Beats and Marvels and the people at WCW are asking them to do? They're encouraging them to take supplements in order to maintain that massive shape when they do their pretend they're play fighting.
It's crazy. But you know what? I thought I'd touch base with you because we do know the Premier League's going to return early June.
Yes.
And I'm for one, I'm really excited about it. And
So am
obviously
I.
the players, they've gone back to training this week. And just one little hiccup that we've had is six of the players have tested positive, I do believe.
That's not even 1% of all the Premiership players, registered Premiership players. But it's one of those things that you are going to get a situation that even if you are locking down, you're self-isolating, there are people who are still going to have that, going to be susceptible to that. Because it's one of the things is that it's a virus. Someone's going to get it. You know what I mean? The reason why we're very concerned, and rightly so, is because people are dying. But in terms of the situation, you can't just let's void the season. There's a lot of people who want the season voided for certain reasons. They want it voided because they think that it's hilarious that Liverpool, who deserve to win the title, won't be able to have it. So for pan footballing reasons or rivals, they don't want the season to start. Or you have a situation where some people have got themselves in a situation where they have to say the right thing about football. They have to say the right thing about coronavirus. It's a safe situation where you say, stay in, keep safe, don't go out. And then when someone peddles videos of people probably going about their business because that's what they have to do. Oh, that's out of order. You selfish so-and-so. How can you price the virus? A packed tube train where people who can't work from home are getting abused and attacked because they're on the train. But they have to work because they can't work from home. And if they don't work, they'll lose their jobs. But they're not allowed to be taken into consideration because what we've done is that a lot of people on social media have got themselves in a situation where they get more likes if they say the right thing. Piers Morgan has got a lot to answer for because what he's saying essentially is correct about the whole situation. But the thing with Piers Morgan is that, and you work in the media now, you've been doing it for a few years, so I've known you for about a few years now, and you know how the media works. Two things happen, one thing is a guarantee in the media. First and foremost, if you want to if you want to be if you want to be believed, you make sure you get your story out there first. So it could be the biggest load of rubbish out there, but you get your story out there first. Two, as you work in the media, if you want to cast mud, then regardless of whether it's true or not, the smear stays there. But what Piers is more doing is the third thing. If there is a crisis or there's a national situation, the first person to get themselves in the forefront of any issue or crisis becomes the spokesman or spokesperson. Piers Morgan, through his platform of GMB, has now become the spokesman of coronavirus, the person to go to. So whenever he puts something out on Twitter, he gets loads and loads of fraction. People going, well done, Piers, you speak for me. Well done, Piers, for calling the government this and that and telling them they're incompetent. You know what I mean? And he seems to revel in that. His blunt way of speaking is now effective because the right thing to do is be concerned about coronavirus. No one in the country is more concerned about coronavirus than Piers Morgan. He is now the public spokesperson. I'm expecting when the National Television Awards come up in November that in terms of the category, the best news coverage of the world, I'm sure Piers Morgan's probably got his acceptance speech nice and ready for him to say, the journalist of the year, Piers Morgan, for his coverage of coronavirus and how he managed to scare the government into not going on this show. That's how he comes across, and that's what's happening. So, which means that there's a silent majority of people who want to get back to normal are being silenced because people like Piers.
Well, you know what? I think if we talk on a positive note, we've seen a successful return to football in the Bundesliga.
Yes.
For a lot of people who are going through a tough time mentally, football is their navigation away from the problems.
Well,
right?
that's what Danny Rose thinks. Danny Rose said he couldn't give a toss about that. I mean, let's not forget that Danny Rose is on loan at Newcastle from Tottenham. He's out of contract by the end of the season, whenever that is, and he'll be a free agent. So he has no actually affinity to anyone in football. And Danny Rose has always spoken his mind about things, and in some cases, 90% of what he says is correct, and then he spoils it by the last 5%. Look what he said about racism. Correct in what he said, although I think then he goes and says, oh, what they find the one country is more than I spend out in a night in London. Well, I'm not just funny. That's not what people want to hear. You know what I mean? I mean, no. Talking of the situation regarding racism was another topic. You know, Johnny Barnes is, probably spot on about it, where he says, well, what we should be more concerned about is what is the average black man on the street, especially who feels disenfranchised, homeless, and probably is in a social situation and lack of education. I think, helping him, like I said, helping him out is more important, and also the perception of him as well needs to change. I think that's more important, but that's another discussion. But Danny Rose is very vocal about it. I know Aguero is vocal about it, and I get that. I really respect what they're saying, but there are other players who want to get back to normal, who want to play football, and I'm not allowed to say it. So if you look at a footballer now, instead of him saying it, he checks himself by saying, "Until it is safe," because if he doesn't say until it's safe, he gets abuse. Graham Souness can't wait for the football to be back. He's only just talked about a scenario. He's now been forced to apologise for insinuating that if he was a player who was desperate to play football mad player, he'll play what regardless. People are calling for him to be sacked from Sky. Really? Have we really got ourselves in a situation where we're all meant to come together that we're now just trying to judge whether someone's more concerned than everyone else, and if they don't say the right thing, you want them sacked? What's this world coming to? What is this country coming to? I don't understand that. Can you explain it to me? Why people who have a different view from the majority now have to be cowed? Why? Why can't you be worried about, your, not, having a job or your finances? Why can't you be worried about people in the football industry, the lower down the pecking order, who need football back? Why can't I worry about them, not about their finances? Why can't I worry about Bournemouth, Watford, all these other small clubs who have 90% of their income comes from TV, need to see the season out? Why can't I worry about them? So if they don't see the season out, how are these small clubs going to be able to pay back the money back to BT and Sky, all the overseas stations? People lose their jobs, the clubs may go into administration, but that's okay. Don't worry, we keep safe. As long as we keep safe, and like I said, we don't put ourselves at risk for coronavirus, which may not affect us all at all. Doesn't matter. That's more important than the prospect of these small clubs going out of business. You know what I mean?
You mentioned Watford, and the major news with regard to Watford is Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney is saying he's not returning to training. He's got his son, got breathing problems. He doesn't want to put his family at risk. I mean, would you, or Troy Deeney's comments?
Well, the first comments is very understandable, and I have a lot of empathy for that situation, because, regardless of whether it's a newborn baby or a relative, remember during that time, Mother's Day was like terrible for all of us, really, especially, I know there's a lot of people who still live with their mum and dads, but if you're in a situation where you have your own family and you have parents in their late 60s and 70s, we couldn't see our mothers during that period because of the situation where people who were in the 70s were more vulnerable to, like I said, the pandemic and the virus, and also the fact that they're not going to be seen as a priority, so they won't be able to treat it. So it's more likely that Boris said they'll probably, unthinkable happen. So I do have a lot of sympathy for Troy for that in that situation, because we all been in that situation. In terms of like what he said the day before, in terms of like, oh, I don't care if you fire me and I go broke. Again, I understand Troy's feel it. He's in fear of the situation, and like he's taking advice. But one thing people like Troy need to realise, whether he likes it or not, the Premier League, especially some of the clubs, cannot afford to not have to void the season or cancel the season. They still got a commitment from BT Sports and Sky, and also the overseas stations. And I know, like, the big six clubs are probably going to have bigger overseas deals than maybe the bottom club, the bottom six. However, Watford, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace are in that category where probably between 75% and 80% of their income does come from TV, especially this season. Now, that makes Troy Deeney and any other players who play for Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, etc., an essential worker. Now, I'm not talking within the footballing industry, but you've got a football industry and you've got individual businesses. Now, within that individual business, within that industry, you have individual business. Now, that individual business, which is your football club, is heavily reliant on this TV money. Now, you know full well that Sky and BT are trying it on now. They want to have rebates because the league wasn't finished beyond May. They want rebates because they haven't been able to fill in their TV schedule since the 8th of since the 8th of March. So they're trying it on. They're now going to want rebates because inevitably there's going to be no fans of football clubs during the remainder of this season. Also, next season in jeopardy as well because of social distancing. So again, it's going to hit the smaller clubs a lot, but they need to get that money back because simple reason, we're not just talking about transfers and everything, which is very important to a football club in order for their progress. But there's a situation as well where even if they do get relegated, that parachute payment is going to be a lot less if Sky and BT Sport try and use that rebate. So they need that money. And I know it's not good for people like Troy and Danny Rose who feel like that, but that they are essential workers. Troy doesn't have to play. Someone can take his place. That is his decision. But for football in general, that's what you sign up for, I'm afraid. The reason why you get paid exorbitant amounts of money, you get paid the equivalent of a terrace house in say New Barnet, or a terrace house in Bedfordshire and Luton, is because of TV. TV pays you. So does the sponsorship pay you. Match-going fans don't pay your salaries. You know what I mean? And that is the whole sort of 360 situation where it has to happen. Now, Scotland don't have that issue where they voided their league, or they cancelled their league, because maybe they don't rely on that. They don't get that much TV money anyway, and because of the demand in terms of games, they're a smaller association than the Premiership, so there wasn't enough time to fill their schedules. You know what I mean? And another thing as well, you've got a situation with the First Minister of Scotland. Now, the way she's very stringent on the lockdown, it's highly unlikely that they'll get safety certificates anyway from the First Minister of Scotland. Look what happened in Holland. Why do you think Holland had to cancel their season? It had nothing to do with this pandemic. It had a lot to. What happened is that the major cities in Holland, Utrecht, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Eindhoven, refused to give safety certificates for these games. So because they couldn't give safety, because they refused to give safety, they said they didn't want any events in their cities until September. They had to cancel the league, and I'm sure that happened in France as well. We haven't got that situation in England yet, but I can tell you one thing for now. In terms of fans going into stadiums, you can forget about that for a good year or so, and then once you forget about that, get used to reduced capacities and gradual to an extent where there's going to be social distancing in the ground. We're probably not going to see full capacities of football grounds for about another 2 years. So football needs to readjust itself, and I think the goose that lays the golden egg, either players, will need to be on board, because it's not a situation where you think, well, I'm not going to do it. No, well, sorry, you've got a contract. You're going to have to find a way to participate, which is going to be a revolution in football, not a very good one.
Yeah. Do you think Troy Deeney's refusal to train might trigger off other players also saying the same thing? They don't feel like
Could do.
Unsafe for their family.
It could do because you know Sergio Aguero said as much maybe a few weeks ago, because you know a lot of the players, if you know, especially the foreign players, they're self-isolating in their own individual countries. Like for instance, you know, I know for a fact that Cristiano Ronaldo was in Madeira, which is in Portugal. He wasn't in Italy, self-isolating around Italy. And I know a lot of the Premiership players, especially some of the players for Man United, they were self-isolating in their own countries. So I do get the situation where a lot of people are looking what's happening in England. You know, maybe the view of the world, how England the coronavirus is not probably a very good one. You know what I mean? We all seem to be caught on the back. We're probably about a month behind what was going on in Germany, Italy, France and Spain. We didn't think it was going to affect us too much in this country. We knew about this in December, but well, it just came from China. And even when the evidence, and it was in the news every day from the end of December to in the new year, we never thought it was going to happen here. So we were just going about our business, going to the gym every day, going to football, you know, like I said, showing no effects of social distancing, even up until the last minute. I mean, the only reason I self-isolated is because I knew my gym closed. Well, my gym was shut down on March the 20th. Coronavirus was with us for about 3 months. People were dying in this country during that period, but I was taking my cues from central government.
Wow. Well, look, main thing is what we want to do is we want the Premier League to come back in the safest way possible.
So you're saying it now. You're saying it now.
Hey,
saying it. You corrected yourself. Yeah, but you corrected yourself. You corrected yourself because what's happened now is that we've got ourselves in a situation where we want to say the right thing. We're scared of saying that we miss our football. We're scared of saying that we miss our way of life. When really and truly we do want everything to be safe. We do want to feel safe. You want to feel safe. I want to feel safe. You don't want to feel more safer than me. Our whole situation is the same. We all know. We all have someone indirectly who's been affected by COVID-19, especially coming from our community. And you know, our community, and I say that with the greatest respect to our cousins from, like I said, from Europe and the Anglo-Saxon cousins as well. People in the BME community, Black Asian communities, in the Greek Cypriot community and Turkey Cypriot community, we have a situation where we have underlying health issues at certain ages, especially from about 40 onwards, and even in our 30s, where we have a situation where there's a lot of high blood pressure, lots of susceptible to strokes and heart attacks. So in terms of like COVID-19, it's going to affect us as a lot, not because we're less healthy than our European counterparts is because we don't seem to take care of our health, and that's not a stereotype. It's because it's knowledge. We don't like doctors. You know what I mean? So what will happen is that all of a sudden we go to a doctor, get our MOT, which a lot of us don't turn up for, and then we go, oh my God, you've got high blood pressure. Oh, you should be taking this and that. We should be doing that full stop. You know what I mean? But that it does. We are very kind of vulnerable in our community to this dreadful virus. So I do know, you know, like I said, where Troy's coming from when he talks about the BME situation, because he's 100% correct. And it's nothing to do with saying that my group of people is more vulnerable than yours and more important. It's nothing to do with that. It's just what we're seeing within our community. You know what I mean? Because Dave, a lot of people within the BME and other communities, we can be very insular. You know what I mean? In terms of like where we eat, what we eat, who we mix with. You know what I mean? Who we phone and blah blah. But in terms of like the conversations we're having with our friends and family, there are a lot of our distant relations and different confidants who are suffering from this dreadful virus and just as susceptible.
Kenny, it's been a pleasure to catch up once more, and I'm sure
it's always a pleasure.
We're going to be catching up more, man, about the football, man.
Well, yeah, but we will definitely catch up on football. But you got to day, people have to be patient. You've got to make adjustments. You know, you got to be able to. You got to understand that you're not going to have what we had prior to March the 7th. You know, football's going to be different now. You're going to see no crowds. You're going to reduced capacities, and the people are going to be affected more. Most of the people who go to Arsenal occasionally. You know, red members, silver members, who probably got the second most senior membership. They're definitely going to be affected if we do have like kind of reduced capacities, because the priority will go towards people like myself as a season ticket holder at Arsenal, because we have the CNRC membership. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying for people who are scared and feel cowed about wanting football back, don't be afraid to say that you're missing your football. Those who are worried about their finances and the effect that coronavirus is having on their job prospects, don't be afraid to be worried about that. Those with mental health, talk to someone. Don't be scared and think that your situation is less important because of this virus. You're just as important as everyone else. Those who've got situations and ailments, you know, like a broken leg or you're feeling really sick, don't think that you're going to get turned away from hospital because of this. You still need to see a doctor. You still need to do it. You're still going to be serious. Don't be scared to do that. Because I'm noticing a lot of situations that operations have gone down by about nearly 300 a month around across the country because people are scared to go into hospital, scared of maybe catching the coronavirus, or scared that they're going to be turned away. Don't feel like that. You know, like I said, still talk about your situations. Don't be cowed by anybody. They mean well. Those people who are saying, you know, stay safe and keep well, they mean well. They're scared, but it doesn't mean they're more scared than you.
Mr. Kenny Ken.
Been emotional, man. Mate. Speak to you later.
Pep Talk. Subscribe. Kenny Ken.